We would like to present our ISAS presentation entitled Virtual Machine on Operating System. Our team is Riki Awal Syahputra as our leader, Khofiyal Fatah Darojat, or me as a researcher and writer, Muhammad Revansyah as a researcher and writer. Table of contents. So in this presentation, our group will discuss about 4 chapters. There is chapter 1, introduction, chapter 2, basic theory, chapter 3, problem analysis, and chapter 4, conclusion and suggestion.
So we are going to chapter 1, introduction. In the next slide, we have the background of this ISAS. The development of technology provide an impetus to the search of knowledge. That awareness prompted this ISAS to be created, discussing specific information about virtual machine technology. The development of software itself has a huge impact on everyday life around us. So that because we need virtual machines when you want to test your operating system in terms of aesthetics, usability, and functionality.
And then for chapter 2, I would like to present the basic theory. Next. And what is the definition of virtual machine? The concept of virtual machine was first developed by IBM in the 60s to provide concurrent, interactive access to a mainframe computer. A virtual machine is a replica of an underlying physical machine, and users are given the illusion of running directly on a physical machine.
In this slide, I'm going to explain why virtual machine is created. For some reason, virtual machines allow a business to run an operating system that behaves like a completely separate computer in an application window on a desktop. And then virtual machine technology is used for many use cases across on-premises and cloud environment. And the last, virtual machine may be deployed to accommodate different levels of processing power needs to run software that requires a different operating system or to test application in a safe. Next.
Next is history of virtual machine. So virtual machine is separated by 2 eras. Early virtual machine. Early virtual machine, there is a M44/44X. The first use of virtual machine in computing appears to have been in the M44/44X projects at IBM Yorktown Research Center in the early 1960s. Next is Cambridge Monitor System. The IBM System/360 was explicitly designed for portability of software across different models and different hardware configuration. Next is VM/370. IBM's VM/370 running on the System/370 hardware fault in the early 1970s and included virtual memory hardware. Next era is modern virtual machines. First is Disco in 1997. The Disco research project at Stanford University explore reviving virtual machine as an approach to making efficient use of hardware with multiple CPUs and included a lightweight library operating system for GUES and an option in addition to supporting commodity operating system as a GUES. Next is VMware. A year later, the team behind Disco founded VMware to continue their work and released a workstation product in 1999, quickly followed by two server products in 2001. Next is Denali. The Denali projects at the University of Washington in 2002 introduced the term para-virtualization. Next is Zen. The Zen projects at the University of Cambridge in 2003 also use para-virtualization technique and modified GUES operating system. Next is x86 hardware virtualization extension. In 2000, Robin and Irwin analyzed the limitation of the x86 architecture as a host for virtual machine implementation, with reference to Goldberg's earlier work on the architectural features required to support virtual machine. Next is type of virtual machine. Virtual machines are separated into two major classes based on their use and degree of correspondence to a real time. There is system virtual machine and process virtual machine. System virtual machine. System virtual machine is also called as hardware virtual machine. It is a software emulation of a computer system. It mimics the entire computer. And process virtual machine. The process virtual machine is also called a language virtual machine or an application virtual machine or managed runtime environment. Process virtual machine is a software simulation of a computer system. It provides a runtime environment to execute a single program and supports a single process. The purpose of process virtual machine is to provide a platform independent programming environment that abstract the details of the underlying hardware or operating system and allows a program to execute in the same way on any platform.
And then chapter 3 is problem analysis. So we're going to talking about the differences between built-in and external virtual machine. So we take the example is Hyper-V for built-in virtual machine and VMware is for external virtual machine. If we versus the differences about the storage, Hyper-V has more complex shared volume clustering, and then for VMware it's simpler shared volume clustering than Hyper-V. And then for the snapshot technology, we have 64 snapshots per VM is for Hyper-V, and then 32 snapshots per VM is for VMware. If we compare about the memory and Hyper-V and then VMware, Hyper-V has its simple memory management, and also the VMware has its own complex memory management. So it's why Hyper-V is get simpler than VMware. For the operating system, Hyper-V has a limited operating system. It has mostly Windows, and for VMware, it has more OS than Hyper-V. So VMware is richer than Hyper-V for the operating system that's going to be working on it. For the scalability, Hyper-V can accommodate more physical and virtual memory per VM and host. And then for VMware, it can accommodate more logical and virtual CPUs per host. For security, Hyper-V has more extensive security system, and for the VMware is less extensive than Hyper-V. So you can say Hyper-V has more security system than, or we can say stronger than VMware. And also the last is about the pricing. Based on the number of cores is got from the Hyper-V is is ideal for small organization, and for VMware it based on processor. So the pricing is going to be increase is based on processor because of that. This is so ideal for larger enterprise. Next. And then installation of virtual machine. And 3.2, we talking about installation. And in 7th step, we conclude that for the installation, first is search website of VMware and click download VMware Workstation 16.2.1 player for Windows 64-bit operating system. And secondly, open the file, allow all of the permissions, and checklist all of the checkbox or circle. Then click next until you find the install button. And third, click install and wait for the installation. The next is if it finishes, click finish, then click yes for the restart, then restart your computer. And fifth is search and open the VMware Workstation 16 player after you restart the computer. And next is check the one of the circle. Use VMware Workstation 16 player for free for non-commercial use. And the last is click finish and your VMware Workstation 16 is ready. Next.
Okay, in this slide, advantage, disadvantage of virtual machine. In this slide, explain that virtual machine brings several advantages, which are the virtual machine can run multiple operating system environment on a single physical computer saving physical space, time, and management costs. And then virtual machines support legacy application, reducing the cost of migrating to a new operating system. For example, a Linux virtual machine running a distribution of Linux as the guest operating system can exist on a host server that is running a non-Linux operating system such as Windows. And then virtual machine can also provide integrated disaster recovery application provisioning options. While in the meantime, there are some disadvantages, which are the running multiple virtual machines on one physical machine can result in unstable performance if infrastructure requirements are not met. And then virtual machines are less efficient and run slower than a full physical computer. Most enterprises use a combination of physical and virtual infrastructure to balance the corresponding advantage and disadvantage. Next.
And chapter 4 is about conclusion and suggestion. Next. So from all of these ISAs, we can conclude about the virtual machine. So first, a virtual machine is most used for business and testing. This technology most used for it. And the second is the best virtual machine is based on your need. There's no specific thing that's going to say it best and is so big. So the best virtual machine is based on the need. And the third is virtual machine is a simple choice for extra customization compared to for businesses. And for virtual machine is environment because it's paired by the main system, so it's good choice for the testing. So it's separate for the main system. And last, virtual machine has the bright prospect for the future because it has a lot of effort they're going to give from the virtual machine technology to our work, especially for business and testing on the hardware or system or software. And 4.2 is about suggestion. We have also two suggestions, simple suggestions. This first is to apply the information in real life wisely, and second, share the knowledge with the other. Next. Okay, this is the special quote from Albert Einstein. It has become apparently obvious that our technology has exceeded our humanity. And next. Okay, I think that's all from us. Thanks. If you have any question, just ask to us. Thank you.